Greetings and welcome to Flanigan's Ecologic. I am your host, Ted Flanigan, and this week I've got Jay Potter on the podcast. He is the co-founder and the CEO of Ecor Global. They're involved with bio-based material manufacturing. Really pleased to have Jay on the podcast. Welcome, Jay.
Thanks, Ted. Good to be here.
And I understand you're in San Diego as we speak?
Every day, and it might as well be the Arctic. I'm in an office, so it's, let me out.
Let me out. Well, it's Friday. You're
close.
The end of the week is in sight.
Right. And yes. There's only 2 more work days left in the week.
There you go. And what's your focus this week? What are you working on this week in particular, or even today?
We're primarily working on right now that we've done a tremendous amount of work. We're one of those classic, 15-year overnight successes, where you bring a new innovation to the market, you have to prove every point. So we've proved every point, from the technology to the product, to the material, to the process, to the timing, to the customer, to the customer's testing. So we've done all of that. So now we're bringing that to the market and trying to get the powers that be, which is the money, to give us a fair deal and let us go build these facilities for the customers that want the material. And we feel that's a big domino. So all of our focus, sadly, is around the least important thing that we should focus on, which is the money.
Yeah.
Instead of the business.
And the business is taking urban and agricultural wastes and pressing these organic wastes into a new form of particle board. Is that essentially what you're doing?
All right. So the whole world, when people ask me to kind of explain what we do, I want to kind of take a step back and help people realize kind of where they are in their own world. So if we took where you're sitting, Ted, and we took a circumference of, say, about a mile around you, mile radius, okay? And we wiped everything out, just, turned it just into what it is. There's only 5 piles of stuff. You'd have a big pile of rock, stone, and concrete.
Yeah.
You'd have a pile of glass, a pile of steel, a pile of plastics. And then you'd have this mountain next to all of it of biomass or cellulose. Right? And what we use today is mostly trees, but trees grow slowly, and agricultural crops that we feed ourselves with grow much faster, so about 200 times. So we'll take things like this, like wheat straw or soy straw, and we'll mix it with things like other things that are industrial that are not part of the collection stream. This is SCP, which is silicone-coated paper. So everything that goes on a bottle had to be there by transfer tape. And that transfer tape is not welcome in the traditional recycling bin. So we get that for free. And we use then last stage corrugate that doesn't have a very good home. So it's all about what I've learned in 30 years of building innovations. It has to be cheaper and better.
Yeah. But what your product is particle board, right? I mean, is that 4x8 sheets of?
It's a little closer. It's a little closer to like an MDF.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it has that particle board look maybe, but it's much denser and much higher performing.
And
so
this
is closer to an MDF, or really it's an HDF, a high density fiber board.
Right, and it's for construction. It's for the walls, it's for the roofs, right?
It's everywhere around you. So it's the table you're sitting at, it's the floor you're standing on, it's the wall you're sitting in front of, the ceiling above you, the roof above that. It's in your car, it's in the plane, the train. It is one of the most ubiquitous materials on the planet.
And your material is better because it doesn't have formaldehyde in it.
We don't use any binders. So our goal was to make a product. So as you know, green chemistry really didn't even exist until the first hint of it would be the late 70s. And then it started to get some traction in the 2000s. But if you had a green magic sauce, what would you put it on? you'd have to put it on something else green. You can't put it on brown, right? Because then what's the purpose? So green chemistry has been very heavily focused in allowing us to grow and benefit and understand how to bring materials together and fibers together without a binder. So every single composite in the world, 99.9% of every composite is made with a petrochemical and or plant-based resin. So they're just gluing the fibers together.
Yeah.
What we're doing is doing what Mother Nature had designed, which was if you give them the right environment of pH, temperature, and pressure, all they want to do is form with each other.
Okay. I live 6 miles away from where the Eaton fire burned down a large portion of Altadena.
Yep.
Right. Houses gone. All you see, you talk about those piles. All you see is chimneys, really, that are left over. So this product could be used for a lot of that new construction, right?
We've worked with and have talked to some of our shareholders who are quite dialed in. We've attracted obviously some very, very forward-thinking people. Some of them very politically oriented. And so we were in front of Newsom for some time, but he's kind of obviously he's on his way out. And we were with Steyer's camp. They were excited by what we're doing, and I'm sure it will come again. So we're going to build a facility in Bakersfield and ship the material over the grade and give away, with the government intervention, California government intervention, give away the materials to the builders and cabinet makers and the rest of it. That was part of the idea.
As a way of priming the pump, right? Getting that product out there and showing its benefits.
Yep.
But now you said it's got to be cheaper and better, or something. You said something along those lines.
Yep.
When you get up and running and you're at scale, are you cheaper than?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Well, because trees are more expensive today than they were yesterday. The cost of labor is higher today than it was yesterday. The cost of energy is higher today than it was yesterday. And the cost of petrochemicals are much higher today than they were yesterday. So you have a whole bunch of things that have changed. All these things have inflated in cost, but something else has occurred. And that is that how we define cost has changed. So now we know, at least most of the world, our country has repealed our environmental perspective back to the time of Lincoln. But the rest of the world says carbon is something that we better keep a real close eye on, and it's everything. We are a carbon-based world. We better manage it better. And so when you start bringing in carbon into the equation as a value, as part of cost, well, then we're radically less expensive. So right now, today, since we both have to buy fiber, our fiber is a little less expensive than theirs. We also get given a whole bunch of it for free. So there's even more delta difference between the input costs. And then they have to use about the same amount of energy that we do. They need to dry it. We need to use it for forming and water evacuation. So they're a dry process. We're a wet process. And then they have to use petrochemicals and we don't. So that's what creates this delta. Now, is our material good for everything? No. Today, we'll advance the material considerably going forward, but right now it's for furniture, it's for flooring, it's all indoor, it's for doors, certainly for walls, but you wouldn't want to make a patio out of it. It doesn't have that water resistivity that comes with the petrochemical resin. Right. But ours is recyclable. You can eat it. Theirs is toxic and killing every single one of us a little bit every day.
Yeah. Now you mentioned you're building a plant in Bakersfield, and I know you have a manufacturing facility in Serbia, which I want to talk about. But would your intent be to have facilities that are decentralized, multiple facilities, or are you, in order to draw the urban waste and the ag waste
we
locally?
We are the very definition of circular as a solution. So we want to be close to the end user as we can get, that lands us in the middle of the whatever the local or regional fiber basket is there.
Right.
Okay. So, like for IKEA, they will undoubtedly want facilities built in Poland. So we'll use soy straw and wheat straw because they have a ton of it. And they end up burning lots of it because there's no use or value for it. And we'll pay the farmer to aggregate it. That's the plan. And then that way you are minimizing. Again, if carbon is one of your cost focal points, then the minimization of movement of mass becomes one of your primary focal points.
So in the United States, you might have 8 or 9 or 10 plants scattered around the country, and each one having a slightly different formula.
Yeah, we're agnostic to the type of fiber. As long as we have long fiber to mix with short fiber, then we can come out with a panel. So it's quality long fiber and short fiber is the recipe. That's part of our patents. And I believe in 15 years, very similar to, you know what a MRF is? Material Recovery Facility?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? There were none of those in existence in 1995. There was one in every city almost in the world in 2005. Why? Because it was
landfill costs went way up, right?
Less labor, made money. I mean, they were, or at least as the recyclers will tell you, and the cities will tell you, at least they would lose less.
Right.
Right.
I believe
one of these facilities, whether it's ours or somebody that copies us or we license, there'll be one of these in every major metropolitan area in the world, if not two.
And how pure does the material have to be in order to be part of your product? I mean, I think about urban waste. Hard to get the contaminants out. I mean, can you handle some plastics?
Not. So when we say urban, we're really referring to post-industrial. So we'll go to like this SCP stuff. So anything that ends up with a label. So we'll go to a bottler. I think there's probably 50 bottlers just in Southern California, right? I mean, there's a lot, or in the border in Mexico, right? So they end up with thousands of tons of that tape, right? So the label has to go on the bottle. So the label and glue go one direction, the transfer tape goes the other direction.
And that's waste.
And the transfer tape has silicate on it. So the glue goes with the label, not with the transfer tape. And so that's just one of a dozen. We're signing a deal with British American Tobacco to use the little filter cut tips that they cut off. And they have thousands of tons of that. And it's nothing but paper, cotton, and cellulose acetate. Very, very clean.
And that can all go into your product.
Yep.
And how long will your product stay compressed? I mean, is it indefinite?
Yeah, is whatever your definition of indefinite is. I'm not sure if it's infinity and beyond, probably not.
Yeah.
But we have it still sits in locations, in apartment buildings, trade show displays that have been around now for more than 12 years.
All right. What's the barrier? What's the barrier of getting to market with this product?
Just build the facilities. It's again, everybody has become, the investment community is the laggard. Okay. So the investment community, when they start, like the guys that go out and publish, yes, we're interested in the circular economy. And I go, ta-da. And they go, holy cow, we weren't ready for you. We're actually looking for a circular economy light.
Yeah.
Right? They want to go asset light. Well, again, that means you don't even understand what the circular economy is if you think there's an asset light version of it. What they're hoping to do is simply be in the data side of it and collect the information and help people, or they don't want to do the work. Well, that's changed. We're now starting to get into some very interesting conversations. And most of it is because of the economics, not the sustainability, not the circularity. It's the economics.
Right. And why Serbia? What's the Serbian connection? You have a facility there, I understand.
Well, the first investor, it's always a good story, these things. So the first investor in the company, I learned a long time ago in building companies that, you got to bring somebody who knows what they're doing, because it's too easy for any of us to fall in love with an idea. So find somebody who's going to be kind of an ass and tell you the reasons why it won't work, right? Find the brake pedal, find the antagonist. And so I took it to what I thought was going to be a great antagonist, and it was the CEO of IKEA US. And he had been with the company, it's the only company he ever worked for, 35 years or whatever. So he was the CEO of dozens of different countries for the company and helped it grow from one store to 900 or whatever they did.
Yeah.
Just amazing story. And he looked at it. He says, interesting. I said, is Kia going to want this? And he goes, absolutely. And I said, great. I said, could you help with the introduction? He says, absolute. He says, but be prepared. It'll take 10 years to get to market. Why that? So again, that's the barrier. Why? He goes, because nobody understands that what they're using today is broken. In other words, Ted, if I asked you, and maybe and I ask people all the time, investors mostly, is particle board and MDF recyclable? And most people go, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's got nasty stuff in it.
They've built facilities now to demonstrate it can be recycled, but it's horrifically uneconomic to do so. So what we've done, as this is true of other companies too, and other innovations as well, that you have to educate the market to help them understand that first you have to show them what the problem is before they would be willing to even address it or accept something that was better. Yeah. So, we've done a good job of that. And by the way, Renee, the CEO of IKEA, invested like 2 days later in the company as the first shareholder. I just was on the phone with him 25 minutes ago, and he's putting in more money. So he's been part of a collective that most of them are very high level executives, developers, and or scientists that are my backers, because they know I'm right.
Yeah.
Right. And ultimately, this is going to win. Ultimately, if you kiss enough frogs, you'll find the prince, kind of thing. If we keep hitting everybody with a hammer, eventually somebody's going to start ducking.
All right. Why Serbia?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Serbia. So Renee, his best friend, as a kid, had a piece of property in Serbia, and he loved what we were doing. He says, I'll trade that property for some equity in the company. And so like a good rug salesman, I locked the two of them and 10 of their friends in a warehouse until they wrote me a check for about $2.5 million to go build the first facility on that property in Serbia.
Yeah. And is that the only place right now that you're manufacturing?
We have some partners that we've licensed the technology to. We built another facility prior to the one we have today. So this is our 3.0. We're going to now 4.0. The 3.0 today is the learnings from the one we built with the Dutch government in the Netherlands in 2019 and 20 to prove the circular economy. So we did something really avant-garde, very, very cool. And you and I probably would not be talking today if COVID never showed up. So we built a facility and we partnered with Schiphol Airport. And Schiphol Airport is below sea level. So they have to keep the channels clean and the dirt on the sides, and they put grass on the dirt to keep the dirt in place. But the grass grows and the birds come, and birds and planes don't mix, so they have to cut the grass. So it's about a $2 or $3 million a year expense. And we said, we can't help you with the fact that you have to cut it, but we'll help you avoid the millions of dollars you're spending in having that grass incinerated. And instead, we'll buy it from you for $1, and you in turn buy the boards we make from it for your ongoing construction. And so we signed a 7-year deal with them, and the Dutch government gave us grants and loans for like 20 million, and we built a facility right there in the Netherlands. And it worked perfect. It was absolutely gorgeous. Then COVID shut everything down. Everything changed. The Schiphol hierarchy that was very progressive was replaced. And things changed. So we licensed it to our partners there because they can live off of grants. It's a very difficult place to do business and make a profit because the janitor is $35 an hour. Very expensive. That's why they're so happy.
Jay, how did this come about? This product. I know you have a co-founder by the name of Robert Noble. Was this his technology originally, or his idea originally?
He started it in he got the bug or the disease or virus. Call it the Ecor virus. He got the Ecor virus in the late 80s, and was able to build a company called Gridcore in Long Beach. He actually built the first commercial facility, and that should have been a runaway success then. But they could not make the product at the price point with the performance characteristics that were required in how the market was willing to take it. So this is a 3-dimensional molded fiber technology. So our future is going to be about making 3-dimensional materials so that you can lightweight everything. Lightweight tables, lightweight roofing systems, wall systems. It's the smarter approach, but the market doesn't like radical change. So it has to take incremental change. So today we're just making a material that is exactly a drop-in replacement for what they use today. And Bob back then in the 80s was making a very, very cool product, but the market was reluctant to accept it, and he was unable to maintain that. So when he and I got together and we're talking about this company, I told him that we had to trim it down. We had to go with a different approach in making a material that would be a drop-in replacement and figure out how we can make it less expensive. Because he was an architect and wanting to just do, under the ether that people will pay more for a green product. Yes, they will, but not the people you want to sell it to.
Right. Or the quantities that you want to sell.
Or the quantities that you need in order to rationalize the building of a $100 or $200 million facility.
So I want to talk a little bit about your career, but I think this is getting to the core of who you are, which is you like to envision, pun intended, I guess. You like to envision a product. You think it's logical, needs to come to market, and you're willing to go to bat and to make that happen. It sounds like.
Yeah, I'm a masochist.
A masochist. That's what I was looking for. It's the word I was looking for. Okay, so I was when I was approached about you coming onto the podcast, and I heard that you had founded Envision Solar, a company that I'm familiar with. I thought, okay, this is great. Was that your first major venture, Envision Solar?
No, God, I wish. That was the first one that got some real attention, and that one we really had an opportunity to build on, and the timing was good. As you recall, in 2008, there was another oil crisis then too. Oil in 2009, I think, went to $130 a barrel, back then, right? Yeah. So again, this is the repeat performance. No, my world changed in 1999 when I ended up in Atlanta during a rainstorm with Bill McDonough, which, if you don't know that name, that is the author of Cradle to Cradle.
Yeah.
And he's the one that coined the phrase circular economy, I believe. That's the first chapter in Cradle to Cradle. And the other guy I got to meet with and spend time with was Ray Anderson.
Oh, I know Ray also. Yeah.
Which that man, just an amazing individual. So I looked and met him and said, I want to be him. Of course, I was only in 1999, I was still in my early 30s, right? So it was, I wanted to, holy cow. I mean, what a guy.
Yeah.
Do that. And so I started working with technologies right at that stage. And it's been a hard road. So the first thing I started analyzing, and this is 180 degrees or 360, I should say, I started studying the waste industry and the waste stream, and what's in municipal solid waste is just unfathomable when you start really digging into it.
Yeah.
And then you start realizing all the things they don't count, like agricultural waste. They don't keep it. There's nobody monitoring agricultural residues. I mean, there probably are now, but there certainly wasn't back then. And so I built another group of engineers and I built a gasification pyrolysis technology. Another group, I love the energy side as well. So we built a high volume electrolysis, and we were making so much hydrogen, we were practically blowing ourselves up on a daily basis, but nobody cared. No one cared. And so we found value in using that same electrolysis process and making a high volume disinfectant.
Yeah.
And we brought it to Tyson, and we were able to wipe out in a trial. We were able to wipe out salmonella in an entire Tyson plant. And they didn't care because it was 1 penny per pound. It was 1,000 times more expensive than chlorine, which doesn't work.
Yeah.
So again, this is when I started realizing, people are not going to change. They're going to change until they're forced to be different. And that's when some wheels started clicking in, and also to my childhood as well as yours, because I think you and I are pretty close to the same age. Do you remember when you were a kid, all the commercials for mesothelioma and asbestos lawsuits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
Okay. Why was asbestos called out on the carpet then? The government knew in the 1920s it was nasty. They allowed those companies to run amok with asbestos, making cookie sheets, kids' pajamas, curtains. Yeah. They covered everything, and they knew they were killing people every second of every day. And why did they allow that? Because it was cheap. And guess what? Guess when that changed? When the number 2 company making asbestos came up with a new product called fiberglass. And that's when it changed.
Just cheaper.
So lead paint was the same way. Same with LED lights. Why do we resist change so much? And then that's when I said, it's the economics. You have to beat it at the money in order to force the change. Right. So that was the driver in all these companies then after that. And that became very relevant with Envision Solar, because we had to prove that the ruler that everyone was using was incorrect, or it was not complete, that measuring everything by cost per watt was only part of the equation, right? What was energy worth in the parking lot? What's security worth? What is shade worth? What is advertising worth? What is branding worth? What's electric vehicle charging as a component, let alone the renewable energy on location? They weren't taking these things into consideration when they were deciding what's good and what's bad, right? And who made them the judge?
Sounds very frustrating.
Very, very frustrating. But you know what? That's what makes the game, right? And that is how do you solve the Rubik?
Yeah.
And you do that by education. You do that by repetitive performance and demonstration. And you build an army, an army of advocates like you.
Yeah. And like you said, you're spending an awful lot of time pitching. I hate that word, but promoting promoting your product and promoting the logic of what you're doing. And you need the investors to get on board.
Well, again, if you really look at the circular economy, and I think Bill McDonough did a marvelous job of this, that and then what led to that, which was the Hanover Papers. If anybody wants to read those, are fantastic. Still, it's kind of like reading Arthur Clarke, in the 70s, talking about the future, or Asimov. I mean, how they predicted all the things that we're enjoying today, they predicted in the 50s.
Yeah.
Exporting our cash in all of our cities to bring in building materials from thousands and thousands of miles away
Just doesn't make sense. Yeah.
doesn't make sense. So what happens if we just took what we have in the neighborhood, made the materials, and kept the cash? Well, then that cash then means there's more money for less taxes, or more money for building companies that generates more taxes, and a healthier ecosystem and economics. I mean, come on, let's get on with it already. We know what we have is broke.
Jay, thanks so much for your time this morning. It's been great to meet you.
No, I appreciate it. And I hope I don't scare anybody.
I don't think so. Keep an eye out for Ecor products. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ted.
That's it. Thanks for listening to Flanigan's EcoLogic. We'll see you next time.